2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta en la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo. Alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta de la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo. Alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta de la El bambú y el ratán, el orgullo de la naturaleza, el amigo de la humanidad. La Organización Internacional del Bambú y Ratán fue establecida en 1997. INBAR fue la primera organización internacional en asentarse en China y la primera en trazarse como objetivo la promoción del bambú y el ratán para el desarrollo sostenible. Desde su establecimiento, la misión de INBAR ha sido mejorar el bienestar de los productores y consumidores de bambú y ratán dentro del contexto de una fuente de recursos sostenibles de bambú y ratán y consolidando, coordinando y apoyando investigaciones y desarrollos estratégicos y adaptativos. En sus 2 décadas de existencia, INBAR ha crecido continuamente y en marzo de 2019 el número de Estados miembros llegó a 45. Nuestros Estados miembros provienen de África, Asia, Oceanía y América. INBAR tiene oficinas regionales en el Camerún, Ecuador, Etiopía, Ghana e India. INBAR se desempeña a través de diferentes esferas, tal y como son la reducción de la pobreza, el desarrollo de medios de vida y la protección ecológica. Todas ellas promueven el desarrollo verde de las industrias de bambú y de ratán. INBAR apoya la innovación científica y tecnológica, la cultivación y la expansión de los recursos disponibles y la demostración de la contribución positiva que han hecho el bambú y ratán al desarrollo de la economía verde y a la mejora de los medios de subsistencia. Los productos y patrimonios culturales pueden mejorar la calidad de vida y proteger y ampliar la cultura de bambú y ratán. INBAR actúa en calidad de observador ante la Asamblea General de la Organización de Naciones Unidas y ha logrado grandes éxitos durante las celebraciones de su 20 aniversario, al igual que en el primer Congreso Mundial del Bambú y Ratán en 2018. Jefes de gobierno de Estado de China, Etiopía, Ecuador, Colombia, Camerún y Madagascar, así como los ejecutivos de alto nivel de la Organización de Naciones Unidas, han expresado su interés en estos acontecimientos o bien nos felicitaron por nuestra creciente influencia internacional. Mirando al futuro, INBAR ha formulado un plan de desarrollo para los años 2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta en la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo. El bambú y el ratán, el orgullo de la naturaleza, el amigo de la humanidad. La Organización Internacional del Bambú y Ratán fue establecida en 1997.
Mauricio.
Hola.
INBAR fue la primera organización internacional en asentarse en China y la primera en trazarse como objetivo la promoción del bambú y el ratán para el desarrollo sostenible.
Mientras tanto, puedes, si quieres, apagar el vídeo. Vamos a poner un vídeo de...
Desde su establecimiento, la misión de INBAR ha sido mejorar el bienestar de los productores y consumidores de bambú y ratán dentro del contexto de una fuente de recursos sostenibles de bambú y ratán y consolidando, coordinando y apoyando investigaciones y desarrollos estratégicos y adaptativos. En sus 2 décadas de existencia, INBAR ha crecido continuamente y en marzo de 2019 el número de Estados miembros llegó a 45. Nuestros Estados miembros provienen de África, Asia, Oceanía y América. INBAR tiene oficinas regionales en el Camerún, Ecuador, Etiopía, Ghana e India. INBAR se desempeña a través de diferentes esferas, tal y como son la reducción de la pobreza, el desarrollo de medios de vida y la protección ecológica. Todas ellas promueven el desarrollo verde de las industrias de bambú y de ratán. INBAR apoya la innovación científica y tecnológica, la cultivación y la expansión de los recursos disponibles y la demostración de la contribución positiva que han hecho el bambú y ratán al desarrollo de la economía verde y a la mejora de los medios de subsistencia. Los productos y patrimonios culturales pueden mejorar la calidad de vida y proteger y ampliar la cultura de bambú y ratán. INBAR actúa en calidad de observador ante la Asamblea General de la Organización de Naciones Unidas y ha logrado grandes éxitos durante las celebraciones de su 20 aniversario, al igual que en el primer Congreso Mundial del Bambú y Ratán en 2018. Jefes de gobierno o de Estado de China, Etiopía, Ecuador, Colombia, Camerún y Madagascar, así como los ejecutivos de alto nivel de la Organización de Naciones Unidas, han expresado su interés en estos acontecimientos o bien nos felicitaron por nuestra creciente influencia internacional. Mirando al futuro, INBAR ha formulado un plan de desarrollo para los años 2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta y la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo. El bambú y el ratán, el orgullo de la naturaleza, el amigo de la humanidad. La Organización Internacional del Bambú y Ratán fue establecida en 1997. INBAR fue la primera organización internacional en asentarse en China y la primera en trazarse como objetivo la promoción del bambú y el ratán para el desarrollo sostenible. Desde su establecimiento, la misión de INBAR ha sido mejorar el bienestar de los productores y consumidores de bambú y ratán dentro del contexto de una fuente de recursos sostenibles de bambú y ratán y consolidando, coordinando y apoyando investigaciones y desarrollos estratégicos y adaptativos. En sus 2 décadas de existencia, INBAR ha crecido continuamente y en marzo de 2019 el número de Estados miembros llegó a 45. Nuestros Estados miembros provienen de África, Asia, Oceanía y América. INBAR tiene oficinas regionales en el Camerún, Ecuador, Etiopía, Ghana e India. INBAR se desempeña a través de diferentes esferas, tal y como son la reducción de la pobreza, el desarrollo de medios de vida y la protección ecológica. Todas ellas promueven el desarrollo verde de las industrias de bambú y de ratán. INBAR apoya la innovación científica y tecnológica, la cultivación y la expansión de los recursos disponibles y la demostración de la contribución positiva que han hecho el bambú y ratán al desarrollo de la economía verde y a la mejora de los medios de subsistencia. Los productos y patrimonios culturales pueden mejorar la calidad de vida y proteger y ampliar la cultura de bambú y ratán. INBAR actúa en calidad de observador ante la Asamblea General de la Organización de Naciones Unidas y ha logrado grandes éxitos durante las celebraciones de su 20 aniversario, al igual que en el primer Congreso Mundial del Bambú y Ratán en 2018. Jefes de gobierno de Estado de China, Etiopía, Ecuador, Colombia, Camerún y Madagascar, así como los ejecutivos de alto nivel de la Organización de Naciones Unidas, han expresado su interés en estos acontecimientos o bien nos felicitaron por nuestra creciente influencia internacional. Mirando al futuro, INBAR ha formulado un plan de desarrollo para los años 2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta en la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo. El bambú y el ratán, el orgullo de la naturaleza, el amigo de la humanidad. La Organización Internacional del Bambú y Ratán fue establecida en 1997. INBAR fue la primera organización internacional en asentarse en China y la primera en trazarse como objetivo la promoción del bambú y el ratán para el desarrollo sostenible. Desde su establecimiento, la misión de INBAR ha sido mejorar el bienestar de los productores y consumidores de bambú y ratán dentro del contexto de una fuente de recursos sostenibles de bambú y ratán y consolidando, coordinando y apoyando investigaciones y desarrollos estratégicos y adaptativos. En sus 2 décadas de existencia, INBAR ha crecido continuamente y en marzo de 2019 el número de Estados miembros llegó a 45. Nuestros Estados miembros provienen de África, Asia, Oceanía y América. INBAR tiene oficinas regionales en el Camerún, Ecuador, Etiopía, Ghana e India. INBAR se desempeña a través de diferentes esferas, tal y como son la reducción de la pobreza, el desarrollo de medios de vida y la protección ecológica. Todas ellas promueven el desarrollo verde de las industrias de bambú y de ratán. INBAR apoya la innovación científica y tecnológica, la cultivación y la expansión de los recursos disponibles y la demostración de la contribución positiva que han hecho el bambú y ratán al desarrollo de la economía verde y a la mejora de los medios de subsistencia. Los productos y patrimonios culturales pueden mejorar la calidad de vida y proteger y ampliar la cultura de bambú y ratán. INBAR actúa en calidad de observador ante la Asamblea General de la Organización de Naciones Unidas y ha logrado grandes éxitos durante las celebraciones de su 20 aniversario, al igual que en el primer Congreso Mundial del Bambú y Ratán en 2018. Jefes de gobierno o de Estado de China, Etiopía, Ecuador, Colombia, Camerún y Madagascar, así como los ejecutivos de alto nivel de la Organización de Naciones Unidas, han expresado su interés en estos acontecimientos o bien nos felicitaron por nuestra creciente influencia internacional. Mirando al futuro, INBAR ha formulado un plan de desarrollo para los años 2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta y la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo.
Hi, Hans.
Hey, how are you
Hans.
doing?
Great to see
David,
you.
good to see you.
Okay, so many familiar faces here. Okay, we are gonna start in about 2 minutes. Please, everyone, keep your camera switched off and also your microphone so we can have a better signal with our panelists.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Pablo.
Hey, Hans, how are you?
Hi. Hey, hello. And
Please, everyone, keep your microphone switched off and also your camera, except our panelists. Mauricio, where is Mauricio? I cannot see Mauricio anywhere. There he is. Okay, great.
Because they turned off the video and audio.
Okay. Please, everyone, switch off your videos, except our 3 panelists. And also, please keep your microphone on mute mode during the webinar. We are going to start in about 1 minute, and we also in between each panelist we will have some time to ask questions. I would request all the participants in this webinar to send your questions to each panelist through the chat that we have available in this, either in YouTube or here in the Teams application. Thank you very much. Okay, one more minute and we start. Okay, I think we can start. Please, everyone, I would request to all the participants in this webinar that to have a better signal with our three panelists, to keep your cameras European Commission, European Climate Pact. So we have invited to our webinar three panelists, which have a long experience
Jorge, your sound's gone.
Oh, excuse me?
Your sound went for a while.
Oh, can you not hear me? Okay. Okay, so our first panelist today is Pablo Van der Lugt. He is the head of sustainability of Mosso International, a company based in the Netherlands. And he is also the author of PiensaEnBambú. And he has been working with bamboo for more than 10 years. And he has been working in Europe with bamboo, with engineer bamboo, and also providing as a supplier to many other companies within the European Union. And he has written many books, and he has been a speaker in the TED conference. He delivered a great presentation. Our second speaker is David Trujillo. He is an engineer and he is a professor in the Coventry University in the School of Energy and Construction. And our third panelist is Mauricio Cárdenas. He is the founder of Studio Cárdenas in Milan, and he has experience with construction with bamboo in Europe, and also in China and South America. So one more time, I'm gonna remind the rules before we start with Pablo Van der Lugt. To everyone who is participating in this webinar, to please keep your cameras off during the event so we can have a better signals with our three panelists, and also to keep your microphones muted during the event. Also, we request all of you to send your questions through the chat, either in Teams in this platform or through YouTube Live, which we are also using for this event. And each of the panelists will reply to your questions after their presentation. Thank you very much. So right now, I give the floor to Pablo Van der Lugt, our first speaker. He will be talking about bamboo in the circular economy. Pablo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Borja. First, let's get my presentation up.
Please, everyone, keep your microphones muted so we can have better signals with our three panelists. Thank you.
Is it correct? You see my screen or not yet? We tried this, but
Yes, we can see your screen perfectly. Pablo, go ahead.
great. You also see me?
Yes, we can also see you on the bottom.
Okay, this is new. I'm talking to a screen, so I'm used to talk to people, but I know you're there behind the camera, so it's a new experience. But thank you to give me this opportunity. I'll focus today on the role of bamboo in the circular economy. I'll focus on the concept of circular economy. I will mainly focus on engineered building materials. So first of all, the scope of what we are talking about. And that is obviously a world with increasing population, and related to this, increasing consumption of fuels, fossil fuels, energy, but also resources with which we build. So we see this, for example, in the deforestation going on. This is from the last 2 decades, and we see, especially in the tropics, it's slightly decreasing, but there's still a net deforestation going on. This is one side of the story. That's the deforestation of hardwood. The other side of the story is about non-renewable materials that you have to mine. For example, ore to produce iron, or bauxite to produce aluminium. If we look at those resources, we see that within this century, we'll come to the bottom of the pit that you see at the back. The answer to all of this is supposed to be the circular economy. So the concept of the circular economy is about 2 cycles and materials that you try to keep apart. So one material cycle is about renewable building materials. It's the green cycle you see on the left on the screen. Renewable, you can grow it back, and ideally they are biodegradable. On the other side of the screen, you see the techno cycle. So these are materials that are not renewable. So for example, plastics or metals or stony materials like concrete. So you want to keep those cycles separate. So this is the concept of the circular economy, and you don't want to downcycle, you want to keep the value. So the aluminium, for example, you want to keep at the same high level, a window frame to another window frame, or to cladding, but not downcycling to cans. That's the idea of the circular economy. So it sounds great, but reality is a little bit different. Every year there is a check of what is the status of the circularity worldwide. It's published each year in the Circularity Gap report. You can just download it for free. It's very interesting. It has neat material flows worldwide. But reality is that only 9% of our materials are actually being recycled at this point. So 91% not. So the circular economy is still very far away. And it's very much related to climate change. On the left, you see another very interesting report published by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation this year, which shows the relationship between circular economy and climate change. And what you see in the graph is that a big portion of climate change and CO2 emissions are related to building materials. And what strikes us is that you see steel and you see cement to produce concrete, you see plastic, aluminium, all those technocycle materials. You don't see biocycle materials such as wood, such as bamboo and cork. And that's because they have a very low carbon footprint. I'll come back to that in a second. For example, concrete is one of the biggest, especially the cement going into concrete, is one of the biggest CO2 emitters worldwide. If it was a country, it would have had more CO2 emissions than India or Russia. So So the three principles of a circular economy, and actually in the Netherlands, we've really adopted a circular economy. We want to be fully circular in 2050. There are 3 points. One, make sure that you manage existing product chains and keep recycling materials. Also design new product chains to be freely circular. But the third point, and not many people are aware of this, is if possible, don't use non-renewable materials, but use bio-based renewable materials, such as, for example, bamboo. So if we go back to the diagram of the beginning, the biocycle and the technocycle, actually the focus should be on the bio-based economy, the biocycle. And it's actually very simple. This has to do with products that have a short lifespan, for example, a straw. We all know the plastic straws. If we throw them away, we have a plastic soup and pollution problem. The bamboo straw, okay, if you would throw it away, it would biodegrade eventually. And in the meantime, the bamboo grows back quickly. So this is for short cycle products, but also long cycle products. We see often PVC flooring or other non-renewable material flooring or products. But you can have a bio-based alternative, wood, bamboo. Another very nice example is decking, for example. We see a lot of PVC decking, and they claim to be very green because they are recyclable. Well, we know only 9% gets recycled, but the other side of the story is if you just look use your common sense, that the PVC or WPC decking has a high embodied energy, high carbon footprint. In the end of life, they're hardly recycled. And if they get into nature, you have a pollution problem because it's not biodegradable. But the biggest point of all is that it's not renewable. At some point, there is no more resource. And whereas with bio-based materials, and especially bamboo, you have a renewable resource, and actually a very rapidly renewable resource. That's why if for a certain function you have a bio-based product that's sustainably sourced, that one should have the preference. So focus on bamboo, because that is of course one of my favorite bio-based materials. And the big benefit of bamboo obviously is the very fast growth. Well, I assume many of you know about bamboo, but very quickly, the big advantage of bamboo is that every year you have new stems coming up, and after 4 or 5 years, you just cut the mature stems. And in the meantime, the bamboo keeps growing back. You only cut 20–25% of the mature stems, and the bamboo keeps growing. So you have an annual harvest, and that's a big benefit of bamboo. And if you put it very simple, iron doesn't grow back, plastic doesn't grow back, stony materials don't grow back. Wood grows back. Bamboo has a big benefit, it grows back faster. Because actually, if you look at the first pic that I showed you in the beginning of the presentation, you see a lot of reds and alarm signals. But at the top part of the presentation, you can see that in Europe, but also China and India, there's a net reforestation going on that has to do with pine forests, but also with bamboo forests in China. There's active reforestation going on over there. So that's also a positive part of the story. Just China has a surface of about 2 times the size of the Netherlands in bamboo, and every year it keeps growing. Today in my presentation, you can, with the bamboo stem, the nice part of it, you can make many things out of it. You can make paper out of it, chopsticks, charcoal, textile. But for my presentation today, I focus on the engineered bamboos, the processing of bamboo, the bamboo stem, 2 strips. Here you see how it is done, into these kind of laminated and engineered bamboo products. So essentially, there are 3 ways that you can produce these products that I have over here. One thing is you have the bamboo stem, and you see it here, you saw the splitter. Then you have the strip, you take out the inner and the outer side of the bamboo stem, and then this is your building block, a bamboo strip of about 2 meters long. And then you can do various things with the bamboo. The most common thing we do is we just laminate them together. As you see on the screen, the big press at the back, you press them like this or like this. And then you can make panels, beams, floors out of the bamboo. That is option 1. It's very stable and quite hard. Option 2 is this process. Let me see if I can get it running. So here you see compressed bamboo. So on the left side you see rough bamboo strips that are allocated, and then they will be pressed together in the back side of the screen. I hope that you can see it in the back. This is the press. So it will be compressed about 3 to 4 times. Then you get finally this very heavy and dense product. Of course, because this is heavier than hardwood, so it will sink in water. It's very hard. Usually I do a live hammer test, but we can do it on a webinar, that's a pity. But you have a very hard and stable material, which is ideal, for example, as a top layer for flooring or tabletops. Well, here you see, for example, a hardness comparison, and you see that the high density compressed bamboo has a hardness which is about 2 times as hard as the well-known tropical hardwood species. The normal laminated bamboo has around the same hardness as oak, so a European hardwood. Well, the final trick that can be done with engineered bamboo is to be able to make it suitable for use outdoors, is thermal modification. So you have the same input strip that you got, but you give it a heat treatment. And because of the heat treatment, it gets dark, but it loses also its sugars. And it's not susceptible anymore for fungi and insect attacks, but it's also very stable. So this is how you see the strips being allocated in big panels, and then they will be pressed together, and then you can make all kinds of materials out of it. The best known are the decking boards, and then also here an advantage is that it's very stable. So as you see on the screen, you can even have a head-side towing groove for this material. So you can use it for decking, but also for cladding, as you see here, and it's a very stable material. So these are the 3 engineered bamboo products that you can produce. Often we get many questions, how about the carbon footprint because of these process steps? Well, for example, for the Paris conference, COP21, when all the agreements were made, with INBAR we published this report, which is downloadable on the INBAR website. And I just quickly jumped to the conclusion because it takes into account all these process steps, takes into account the glue use, because in these products you have 2 to 5 to 6% glue use. And you come to one final number, and that's the kilograms of CO2 per cubic meter. These green alternatives are that you see on the left are basically the CO2 emissions for these 3 different building processes that I just showed you. And they are negative, and they're negative because there's a net CO2 sequestration during growth in the bamboo, but also, and that's all explained in this report, in the end of life phase in the Netherlands, we burn the bamboo or wood in biomass energy plants, and it substitutes the use of fossil fuels. So that's why it has a negative CO2 emission. What's interesting, if you look at the right side of the graph, you see a high CO2 emission, and that's the metals or the plastics or the other technocycle materials that you see. Mind you, if you have hardwood, and if not the tree is planted back, then also hardwood has a high CO2 emission. This is very interesting because if you look at the building level, a building can be a carbon store. This building is the most sustainable hotel in the Netherlands. It's a BREEAM excellent building. It's in Amsterdam, and it's fully made out of wood and bamboo. And if you, this is the interior. So from the outside you may not see it, but the interior is fully made out of wood. And here all the finishing is with bamboo, the flooring and the walls, and also the ceilings. If you see the bamboo as a carbon store, then you can understand that 1 cubic meter of bamboo stores more than 1.5 tons of CO2. just for the lifetime. And this is all locked CO2. The longer we use the product, the longer the CO2 is locked. But if we're going to use, for example, bamboo instead of PVC or aluminium, for example, for window frames or for cladding, then you have avoided CO2 emissions because you don't have the CO2 emissions, for example, of aluminium. This is called the substitution effect. And I'll try to make it simple for you. In the building industry, there's a rule of thumb. 1 ton of softwood or engineered bamboo, which replaces 1 ton of concrete or steel, on average avoids 1/2 ton of CO2. Well, here you don't see bamboo, here you see wood, but wood and bamboo can go very well hand in hand. For example, Hotel Jakarta consists of cross-laminated timber modules. Here they are shipped. They're located on top of each other, 200 pieces, and then they're finished with bamboo. So this is a beautiful example of wood, softwood, sustainably sourced with bamboo joining forces. And I'm a big fan of that. This is the inside of such a hotel room. And if you look at the interior, again, the flooring, the walls, and even those slats that you see over there are all made out of bamboo. And if you add this all up and you see this building as a carbon store, using about 2,500 cubic meters of wood and bamboo, you'd lock 3,000 tons of CO2 in this building. This building will be there for 50, 100 years. For all this time, the CO2 is locked. But you also didn't build this building in the typical materials you would use, concrete and the other technocycle materials. So you also avoid many tons of CO2, which otherwise would have been emitted. Just building this way, you save CO2. And it looks also a lot better, in my opinion. And many people think the same. I just want to run you through a couple of examples so you know that what's possible with these kind of engineered building materials. And then I'll finalize what is the challenge to make it a fully circular building product. This is Madrid Airport, 200,000 square meters of bamboo in the ceiling. And what is striking is that many big architects are now adopting engineered bamboo. This is Zaha Hadid Architects in this LEED Gold building in Milan. Ceiling, floor, all made out of engineered bamboo. And also the paneling. Well, when you go outside with the bamboo, I told you about the very stable products. And this is a nice example. You see how incredibly straight this is. And the product starts dark. You can keep it that way if you oil it every time. But you can also make it, let it UV degrade, and it has the same performance, but it gets a lighter color. I personally really like this this appearance of the bamboo. This is another project in the Netherlands. So for the decking you can use it. You can also use it for the cladding. These are cladding boards made with this product in a project in Belgium. In Paris, the Central Business District, you see it being featured. And look at the contrast of this building with the one in the back. So you see that more and more architects are adopting bio-based materials instead of those technocycle materials. Even in stations, this is Gare du Nord in Paris. This might be the busiest public building in France. And they converted to this ultra density bamboo boards because of the hardness and because of the high wear resistance. This is another product in which you use the laminated bamboo, and some architects don't like the dark color and they want a lighter color, and then you can use this product also for cladding, mostly for cladding, but also for finishing, and even for street furniture and traffic signs, as we now see in the Netherlands. This is a very interesting development, in my opinion, because the very heavy and dense bamboo is very, well, it's heavy, so it has a high structural weight. But this new product, also usable for outdoor use, which is finger jointed at strip level, might be interesting for structural application in the future. I'm sure David will go far deeper in the structural engineering part and the challenges that are there, because we don't have very big structural building codes yet for bamboo, but it's a first step. And these kind of small projects show the potential of this. And these are, well, if you look at the testing that we did with Cambridge and Graz University, then you see in the light green the bamboo, that it also structurally performs pretty well compared to glue laminated spruce. So in that sense, interesting, but still a long way ahead. Well, to finalize with the part of the circular economy, because I wanted to show you the various products that you can make out of the engineered bamboo, there are, of course, always challenges. And that's also the case with bamboo. On the left bottom hand side, you see the cascading model. So this relates to wood, but it also relates to bamboo. Ideally, you want to have such a product, and you want to maybe it starts off as a floor, and you want to reuse it again in the end of life, maybe as a panel. You want to keep the value as high as possible. In practice, you will see that a lot of the bamboo and woods in general will be chipped and used, for example, for particle board or MDF, and then the final application would be in, for example, in bioenergy. But the big benefit, I think, of bamboo is, in the meantime, the bamboo has grown back many times. For example, if we look at one soccer field of bamboo, it's about 1.7 hectare. It would produce 6 cubic meters of giant bamboo. In this case, it's about guadua bamboo per year. Every year again, because the bamboo keeps growing. So if this product is turned, for example, into a window frame, and 1 cubic meter produces around 50 window frames. So 6 cubic meters, 90 window frames. If this window frame lasts for 30 years, which is a reasonable time, you can do the calculation. This means that in 30 years, the bamboo each year produces 6 cubic meters again and again, and you have 180 cubic meters of bamboo produced, which produce 2,700 window frames, just one soccer field. And this is also what Simon Velez talks about when he's talking about grow your own house. These are window frames, but potentially you can build whole houses, especially with the bamboo stem, obviously. And that's very interesting in the bamboo growing countries. So if you take this into account, then I don't really mind the cascading model, and that in the end of life bamboo would be burned for energy, because in the meantime the bamboo grows back. Still, I'm a perfectionist, and also here at Mozo we are looking at this solution to make the bamboo 100% bio-based. Because at this point it depends a little bit on the product. For example, this product is 98% bamboo, it still is 2% synthetic glue. And these are the same glues that are used in the wood industry, and they're from the technocycle. So they're synthetic glues. And there are also alternatives from the biocycle. The problem is they're very expensive, they don't perform it well, they're not available. So this is a long and difficult R&D process, not helped with the COVID virus, but we're planning to do first testing the coming year in China, if China opens up, to try out this new bioresin. But still a long way to go. And then you can really say we have 100% bio-based product. Final thing I want to give with you is that I personally see a lot of greenwashing with bamboo. Bamboo is a beautiful resource, but not every bamboo product is that green. Here you have 4 examples. You have a bamboo textile, which is produced with a viscose process. The fiber is good, but the process is quite dirty with a lot of chemicals. The second product I'll show you in a second. The third product is bamboo tableware made of melamine wax and only a little bit of bamboo powder. It's for babies, and is promoted as being super sustainable. But this is more than 60% plastic. And the top one is a bamboo toothbrush. It's a good start because the stick is fully bamboo, but the straws are made of synthetic resins. So you have to be able, for circular economy, to take them apart and let the nylon straws return to the technocycle and the bamboo to the biocycle. So the product that you saw here in the beginning, this is a 100% circular product, in my opinion, because it's made out of discarded chopsticks. The Chop Value in Vancouver collects these chopsticks, and instead of throwing them away, presses them those chopsticks together with 100% non-toxic glue, and then you can get these kind of beams, yoga blocks, or other products. And I'm very curious if in the future we can also upcycle these chopsticks for use in building materials in the built environment. So that is what I wanted to tell today. if it went too fast, probably it went too fast. There's a lot more information in the book Moving Bamboo that I published 2 years ago. I heard it was sold out, but I checked with the publisher and it should be available again through Amazon.com. Not to promote myself, but I think it's a good. It gives a good overview of all the stuff that I just told you with a lot more backgrounds. Thanks for your attention this way. I hope everyone kept up. And Borja, back to you.
Thank you very much, Pablo, for your presentation. Very interesting. Oh, sorry. Excuse me, please keep your microphones switched off. Pablo, thank you very much. Yeah, very interesting presentation. You touched some good points about the life cycle of bamboo, the relationship between the circular economy and climate change, and the benefits of bamboo in comparison to other materials. Also, you touch upon the carbon footprint over life cycle of bamboo and the process of making decking boards and laminated bamboo products. Now I give the floor to Pablo to give you some questions that our participants are sending to us through the chat.
Thank you, Borja, and thank you, Pablo, for your very nice presentation. Yes, we have some questions that I'm going to pass to you. This one says, well, thank you to Pablo. In context with engineered bamboo, there is always the vendor question, which is usually not recyclable thermosets, as you also mentioned. Apart from bio-based thermosets, is Mosso also looking into thermoplastics?
Well, it's a technical question. We're not looking at thermoplastics because the products we use are used in harsh, difficult circumstances. So it's not a reversible process. The products are used outdoor circumstances, high temperatures. It can heat up with under solar radiation. So the solutions we are looking at are thermosetting bioresins as the alternative for the synthetic resins.
Pablo, to see you better, if you can stop sharing your presentation so we can see you full screen. Thanks.
Thank you, Pablo. Roberto has another question. If possible, it would be useful to understand a little bit more about the glues. At the last part of your presentation, you talk about some natural glues. So can you please explain a little bit more about that?
Okay. So to give a little bit of background, in the wood industry, so the particle board, MDF, laminated woods, and the bamboo industry, the same glues are being used. So these are usually melamine, urea formaldehyde glues, EPI glues. These are usually oil-based glues. And from the biocycle, there are also, of course, various bio-based resources that you can use. For example, the lignin in wood and bamboo is a stepping stone. You have bagasse, the sugarcane waste that you can turn into furfural alcohol and resin, which can also be used as a bioresin. So there are very bio-based sources that potentially can be used to produce similar bio-based, similar resins and glues as the ones that I just mentioned. But the one that I just mentioned, they do their job very well. And as long as there's no carbon tax or something on these products, they are produced in such big quantities and at such a low price that these bio-based alternatives are maybe 5 to 10 times the price. And usually their performance is not as good. So we have done some test products that we have in our hands with those bio-based resins. and then we do a cooking test, and the normal product like this will remain within 2-3% stability after the cooking test. And the other product with the bio-based glue would have 5-6% stability increase or increase in volume. So the performance is worse, and you have to pay 3-4 times the price. So when we try to sell this to an architect and we tell them, okay, you have to get an inferior product, but you have to pay this much more, that makes it really difficult. And we now have finally a bioresin which comes close to the synthetic additives, but it's developed in Europe, and we have to produce it and use it in China. The costs are a lot higher, and there's still a lot more testing going on. So this is a challenging route, and if anyone comes across an interesting development, we are really happy to try it out. But we've seen a lot coming, and many promise golden eggs in Dutch. But there's always something, some bottleneck, and it's the price, or it's the technical performance, or it's maybe a bio-based resource, but it's toxic. That also we've seen a couple of times, so it's not easy. And a development which we really want to keep working on, but it's still a development phase.
Thank you, Pablo. We also have a couple of questions regarding bamboo availability in Europe. Is bamboo growing in Europe, or is all imported from other parts?
So there are about 1,600 bamboo species. And there are bamboo species growing as a garden plant in Europe, and sometimes they can reach pretty high heights, as we see in southern France with the bamboo serai, for example. Naturally, you don't have a lot of the giant bamboo, the moso bamboo or the guadua in Europe. It is interesting, and I know there are various projects, and one of them is Bamboo Logic that are setting up plantations with bamboo in Portugal, in Italy, in Greece, or that's the plan at least. And looking at if you have the right circumstances, bamboo could grow in these places as well, also those giant bamboos. But there's not a lot of resource yet, so it would need to be a new development to have, because the current bamboos that grow in Europe are not really suitable for industrial processing for these kind of products. You really want to have the big and thick strips, and for this you need giant bamboos. So well, this is interesting. I just saw Hans Friedrich logging in. I don't know. I know he's connected to Bamboo Logic. I don't know if he's any ideas or possibilities for him to share the latest developments there. If there's room for it, that could be interesting to hear.
Thank you, Pablo. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
You're quite right. There's no guadua in Europe, and I think it's going to be difficult to plant guadua. But certainly in southern Europe, we can plant dendrocalamus. And dendrocalamus is big enough for the kind of works that you are talking about. And that's certainly something that we are planning in both Portugal and Spain, and I believe in Italy as well. So this is something, as you say, a new development. The issue is that it is as you pointed out, a non-native plant. So you are introducing non-native plants. As long as you do that as an agricultural crop, I don't see a problem with that. And of course, the carbon footprint of transporting bamboo from southern Europe to northern Europe is a lot less than transporting it from other parts of the world. So on top of that, it would actually lower the carbon footprint even more.
Yeah, fully agree. But a long way ahead still.
Yep, I agree. This is only just starting.
Yeah, but fitting with the bio-based economy that we're talking about. And it's not a resource only for building materials, but also for pulp, for paper, for textile. So this one resource can have many different purposes. And that makes bamboo a very versatile resource.
True. One other thing that hasn't been mentioned is food. I think more and more European high-class establishments are using bamboo in their culinary expeditions. Bamboo shoots are very nutritious, but they're also very nice to eat. So I think that's another opportunity in Europe, not large scale maybe, but certainly an added benefit to planting bamboo for other purposes.
Totally agree.
Great.
Pablo,
Thank you very much, Dr. Hans, and thank you very much, Pablo. Pablo, is there any more questions for Pablo?
Yes, Borja. I actually going to share just a few of them because we have many. So one of the questions is, if bamboo is such a good construction material, which I believe it is, why isn't it more widely used? Is there anything to do with the lobby from big concrete industry?
So this is a very good and also very broad and complicated question, because also depends on are we talking about, which context are we talking about? In Western Europe, these engineered bamboo products, they are increasingly adopted and gain market share, especially when sustainability and circularity and carbon footprint becomes more important. Here the main bottleneck is probably lack of building codes, which I'm sure David will talk about in his presentation. From the perspective of the bamboo growing countries, let's say, there you probably have the same limitations, building codes, classification system of bamboo. And here you talk more about bamboo, the bamboo stem. And the bamboo stem is a hollow, irregular material. Each stem is different. So you need a kind of classification, but here and there, it's a big problem, because a complex question. Because in some parts of the world, the use of bamboo is used as sometimes as an inferior building material. So there you have an image problem. That's maybe Latin America. So there are many different aspects that sometimes withhold the mass adoption of bamboo. But yeah, I see a lot of potential of the use of bamboo as construction material, actually, especially in the bamboo growing countries, because there you can directly use the bamboo stem and make very neat and efficient, smartly designed houses of them, which are earthquake proof, quickly erected. So there's a lot more potential there. So there's a lobby. I know in Costa Rica, the project Bamboo, which was very successful, had a bamboo frame system. Then a new administration came in, new government, and the developer pushed forward someone who produced concrete prefab housing. So there's a lobby, there's classification systems. So there are many things that we have to fight as a bamboo before it being a mass adopted building material. But in the end, we need it, because in the end, we need more houses. The population is growing, resources are running out. So in the end, we have to find a bamboo-based solution as well. But I think this is an ideal question for David also to dive deeper into.
Great. Yes, I'm sure David will address also this issue. Pablo, there are so many questions for you, but I think we can maybe go back at the end to address them, and if you are patient enough to continue with us. And
yeah,
so,
I'm sorry, I have to leave at 5:30. That's because then this building closes. So otherwise I have to spend the night here. So
okay, if not, we'll refer to David. Maybe
thank you.
Maybe we can have one more then, and if not, David will be able to answer them. Pablo, go ahead with one more question for Pablo, because he has to leave.
Yes, thank you. So there's another question from Anne. I like how Pablo pointed out the greenwashing of bamboo and the products more suitable for the bio-based circular economy. Are you working with circular building systems as well? I heard that hotels, for instance, change their interior also every 5 years.
Yes, this is really the next step in circular economy, is indeed circular building. So the building systems that you make sure that building products are installed in such a way that they're demountable. So, for example, you have the cladding system like this, which has a clip system. So you can take the clip out. Oh, you can probably not see it here. So you have a clip system behind this. So you can take the clip out, and then in the end of life, you can have two separate systems, the clips and the bamboo cladding boards. It really depends on the commissioner who's willing to do this, because it takes a lot more effort from the designer. But it's a very interesting concept, because in some cases you see in the Netherlands, you see, for example, some carpet producers who lease their carpets and say in 5 or 10 years, I'll take back my carpet and produce new carpet out of it. So they remain the owner of the carpet. And that's a very, well, interesting and good development. In a hotel or a pavilion in Amsterdam Business District called Circle, there are, for example, the beams, they are glulam, so wood in this case, and they are oversized a little bit, just to take into account that in the end of life phase, maybe in 50, 60 years, they can have a shaving round and the stems can be reused again. So a good designer thinking about circular economy principles would take that into account. For bamboo, so this is more one level up. This is the level of the architect who should design, for example, bamboo cladding boards to be demountable. So they can return to the wood and bamboo industry without any damage in the end of life phase.
Thank you, Pablo. And I would like
still a lot of development ahead. This is just one of the first stepping stones that have to be made to be a real to have a fully circular building industry.
Thank you. And I would like to tell all of the speakers that we have a large audience from Latin America as well. So I would like to present this question from Ana Laura in Chile. Considering the ancestral technique and wisdom available at the human scale for networking, what do you think is the role of Latin America in this emerging opportunity for bamboo and the circular economy?
So it's a pity that I give all the answers, because I know there are people out there that have more experience and knowledge about this, but I'll give my short worldwide overview. I think there's a huge potential in Latin America, because there's a lot of very suitable bamboo species that have a big structural capacity. It was mentioned, but there are many others that are not really used. There's not a real bamboo industry yet. So the products I show, we get them mostly from Asia. And the resource that's in Latin America is totally suitable also to develop a building, these kind of engineered building products. So there's a big potential, but there need to be some governments incentivizing industries and investments in to have a bamboo industry developing in Latin American countries. I know there's a lot more potential over in your region that's not uncovered. The bamboo stem is very suitable and beautiful building material, but if you want to broaden the market, then you have to do more processing, then you can have more different high-end building materials or other design and consumption articles made out of your bamboo resource, which is undervalued at this point, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Pablo, for your presentation and for answering all the questions from our participants. Now we go ahead with the next presentation from David Trujillo. David Trujillo is an structural engineer. He's professor at the School of Energy and Construction and Environment of the University of Coventry in the UK. And he is also the chair of the INBAR Construction Task Force. So I give the floor to David to go ahead with his presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Borja. I would start by thanking Borja de la Peña, Pablo Jacome, and Pablo Izquierdo for putting this together. And I want to greet my fellow panelists, Pablo Van der Lugt and Mauricio Cárdenas. I really enjoyed Pablo's presentation, and it's a shame we can't clap here to show how much I really enjoyed it. Okay, I'm going to start sharing my presentation with you. Now, my presentation is intended mainly to be a bit of a sort of a reflection about a diverse set of things around bamboo within Europe. So, is bamboo relevant to Europe? Bearing in mind of the 1,642 known species of bamboo, the native across all continents except Europe and Antarctica. So we have no species native to Europe. However, there is something very important to bear in mind. In 2017, the EU was the largest importer of bamboo, buying 37% of the bamboo and rattan products of the international market. That was worth $578 million US. And astonishingly, it is also the world's second largest exporter of bamboo products, roughly 9% of the world market, $153 million. I extracted this data from a document published by INBAR, which is called the Trade Overview 2017, Bamboo and Rattan Commodities in the International Market. However, so this document says, and I'm going to read it literally, which I think it's an interesting sort of starting point for the talk today. However, while lacking in bamboo and rattan resources, the EU is comparatively strong in technological innovation and boasts mature techniques in product design and processing. The EU made itself the world's second largest exporter of bamboo and rattan products by sourcing raw materials and intermediate products from Asia, having them processed in Europe or manufactured by Chinese original equipment manufacturers, and then exporting to other countries as high value added. The research that underpinned the development of this standard was undertaken here in Europe. So it's what I feel is an important thing to bear in mind about standards is that the process of developing codes and standards is a process that is costly and requires experience. These ISO standards have been a process of international cooperation, including members from both developing and developed countries. However, for example, in the case of Europe, it was very important to have an element of knowledge transfer. So I see Europe playing an essential role in the development of future bamboo standards, not only because of its role in trade, which we've demonstrated is significant, but because it's an effective way to transfer knowledge and expertise. Personally, I discovered bamboo in this book back in 1998, again a book by Jules Janssen. I was visiting my family here in London, and I read the bibliography at the back of this book and discovered, the irony was, that most of the bibliography cited by Jules was referring to an author called Oscar Hidalgo, a Colombian, who had taught at the same university which I was a student of, La Universidad Nacional de Colombia. But what's interesting about that is that it was the level of dissemination that was achieved that I could more readily access this book than maybe something that was closer to me. So I think one of the things that Europe has also played a key role is in helping the dissemination of best practice. For example, recently INBAR published this guidance document that was authored by several people living in Europe, but it was disseminated both in English and Spanish. The idea was to return some lessons learned to both Latin America, but also beyond. Now, another thing that's important to point out is that within Europe, there are many charities and NGOs that can help research, disseminate, promote, and specify best practice with bamboo. An excellent example is the work that Hilti Foundation has promoted and supported through a foundation called Base Baha'i in the Philippines. The rigor, the care and quality of their work is exemplar. This has not been the case of an imposition. It's been a carefully integrated process with locals and international experts. But it constitutes, in my opinion, an excellent case study of how a charity can effect positive change and how they've managed to help dynamize a process that might have happened naturally or might have taken decades to occur, which was the transfer of this technology, which is originally from Latin America to the Philippines. As I mentioned at the beginning, innovation is a key characteristic that Europe has provided in the field of bamboo. Bamboo needs innovation. Currently, as Pablo presented, you fundamentally can work with bamboo in one of two ways, either as a pole or as an engineered bamboo product, at least in terms of structural application. The use of poles is appealing because the section is already engineered. It is a hollow tube, which is a very efficient section. However, integrated bamboo into modern construction practice is difficult. Making connections, for example, which is a field of research I'm particularly interested in, is very labor intensive. And of course, the advantage of adopting engineered bamboo products is that resolve many of the problems by transforming bamboo into prismatic or board products. But what if, instead of changing the product to suit the industry, we transform the industry to suit the product? So here we have work that is being carried out by Dr. Rodolfo Lorenzo at UCL in London. And so the work that they're undertaking here is that they are using 3D technology to see if they can resolve the fact that it's such an irregular shape. So here, one of the things they're processing here is their 3D scanning a culm. They then develop three-dimensional virtual models that they can incorporate into computer programs and start manipulating them within the computer program. And eventually, once they've got the design, for example, of a structure, then they can use robotic fabrication, which of course could help make sort of complicated cuts like this one over here, which is one of the difficulties of working with bamboo poles. A similar approach is adopted by Ricardo Assis Rosa at Oxford Brookes University, and his idea is that to answer the problem of robots sounding very expensive, to develop these complex cuts, is to do this, shall we say, low-cost cutter. And this cutter, he estimates, costs around $1,200 US. And it's a CNC has this spindle here that can then also produce complex cuts in bamboo. So it's an interesting perspective of trying to bring something hugely, apparently high-tech into a very low-tech product. And it's a novel and interesting invitation to the possibilities that these could bring. So these are some images of Dr. Rodolfo Lorenzo from UCL, and this is the one from Ricardo Assis Rosa. So it's interesting. These are complicated shapes that would be very hard to build with the traditional techniques with bamboo. But with this sort of machinery, it might be possible to incorporate this in a new proposition of how to build with bamboo. So I don't see that being something that is an immediate technology, but it is something that possibly could happen towards the future. So one reflection I have is, and I think many people in the webinar have a similar feeling, which is, what is the current and potential roles for bamboo in the European construction industry? And as was previously discussed, importing pole bamboo, like the pole bamboo I've got there in that container that I imported for my research, is inefficient, particularly if you bring it all the way from, in this case, it was coming from Colombia. But if you bring it from Colombia, from China, it is inefficient because a lot of the container is occupied by air. Which, of course, then, as I think Pablo Van der Lugt has already pointed out somewhere in one of his publications, I'm sure he has, it increases the embodied carbon of the bamboo to a point that it's sort of ridiculous. So so obviously the role of currently for bamboo in Europe as a construction product is, as Pablo has clearly presented, is engineered bamboo products. But I think even with a fairly large embodied carbon, bamboo poles are probably a good solution for temporary demountable structures, because I think because of the efficiency, you'd be probably competing against materials like aluminium, which have very, very high embodied carbons. Now, this is an intuition I have, but I haven't been able to sort of demonstrate it with numbers. And I think this possibility will only be enabled when we have good, reliable connections with bamboo. Another thing, which is one that I'm working alongside Dr. Hector Archila, who from Amphibia, who is looking at the idea of combining bio-based materials. And Pablo mentioned sort of the idea how bamboo can complement timber. And this is one idea that we find very appealing, which is that bamboo laminates, for example, complements softwoods of low grade to produce a product of higher quality. Bamboo would lend its high strength and high stiffness to a timber product that would have less stiffness and strength. What would be the advantage of this? The advantage of this could be that you could bring into the stream of construction products timber that might be considered as low grade and hence not considered good enough to enter the construction industry. So it enters at a lower grade as a lower quality product, and I think that sort of, as Pablo was mentioning, it sort of maybe becomes chipboard or something like that, and not necessarily into the highest level, which would be a structural product. So what other horizons are there for bamboo in Europe? And I think this is a question that has already started within the webinar, and it's one that I'm very keen to put forward, which is, can bamboo be grown and exploited commercially in Europe? And Dr. Hans was pointing out that there is an initiative of that nature, and it is a very good point that he makes. But one of the things I feel that is frequently stated when we say that bamboo is an introduced species is that there are many introduced species that we use a great deal in Europe, like Sitka spruce and Douglas fir, which are two species of timber which are introduced, and not many people sort of question the fact that these trees are introduced. So I'm not suggesting that they have that we ignore this issue, but it is something that we probably have to consider a bit more as a potential, because with grown bamboo, grown locally, as was also I think mentioned by some of the panelists, well, by either Pablo or Dr. Hans, is that of course you could get bamboo to work as a biomass, as a biofuel, biochar. It could be a feedstock for the paper or the textile industries. It could be a feedstock for construction products, as the ones that Pablo showed us. But I also wonder, and this is a slightly more provocative question, could bamboo provide environmental services in Europe in terms of carbon capture, if it's associated construction products? And as Pablo was pointing out, once you make it into a construction product, it's fixed carbon. It is an introduced species, but could it play a role in some form of afforestation? I don't know. I'm being deliberately provocative with these questions, or anti-desertification situations. Like I can imagine there'll be some locations in Southern Europe that it might be appealing if other local plants are not doing the job particularly well. But there is also a field of engineering, which is what we call nature-based solutions. Could it play a role in some form of soil retention or flood prevention or climate change adaptation and all these other dimensions of changes in the way we conceive engineering that we used to frequently just think of the techno cycle. Maybe we can use the biocycle to solve these problems. So many thanks for listening, and I want to close with one final reflection. One of the things I want to point out is I'm not suggesting that innovation with bamboo is only taking place in Europe. There is great work taking place in all continents. My point is that bamboo is a resource with a great deal of promise for the construction industry, which is in urgent need of transformation. I mean, the construction industry is, due to its very large environmental footprint. So this is really an invitation to European organizations to fund and to support research with bamboo, because it's not really such an exotic and distant plant. And those of us who are living in Europe can, from here, effect change. Europe can and should make a contribution to this change. And with that, I finished my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I can't agree more with you on that bamboo can play a great role in Europe. And indeed, many of you are doing a great work already, using and promoting bamboo and teaching and encouraging the role that bamboo can play in the new European Green Deal, and also as a nature-based solution, of course, which is something that from INBAR we have been working on. You have touched some interesting points. I was very happy to see that you included one example from Oxford Brookes University, which is my university where I studied. And also you have touched, you have mentioned also Jules Janssen, the bamboo expert. You have shown examples of engineered bamboo products in Europe, the new technological developments with 3D, and the role of bamboo in construction. And I think with that, I'm gonna give the floor to Pablo to send you some questions. I see also Dr. Hans in the screen. I don't know if he has questions.
Yes, thank you very much, David. Okay, so I'll post you a couple of questions right now. It was very interesting, the hybrid that you show with the wood and bamboo. So the question is it possible to find a structurally used solution combining bamboo with Echt radius pine?
Okay, my knowledge of this field of combining bamboo with softwood, for example, is limited, because what I've read in the field is that not much has been published. Though this, as an experiment, lots of people have been doing it for a long time. There was a paper published last year on combining bamboo laminates with from I think the paper is from the USA or from Canada, but I can say that this, I think it's just in the research stage at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Another question has to do with the role of universities in taking initiative and spreading the innovative design research practices. What would be your insight on this role of the universities?
It's a very good question. There becomes a situation which is, though universities can innovate significantly, there becomes a sort of a chicken and egg situation where people don't necessarily want to, or don't see the need to teach something because they don't perceive there's a demand for that in the field. So I have known that even in timber engineering, sometimes students don't necessarily enroll onto the courses, despite that you sort of think, well, that has a lot more clear economic application, because the status quo is perceived as the way to go. But I think that's gradually changing. You can see gradually greater interest in the younger generations for, shall we say, bio-based solutions. And I think the appetite in young generations for bio-based solutions is ready. However, universities, though they can be places of great dynamism, they can also be incredibly slow places. They can be very bureaucratic. And so the possibility of changing curriculums and the possibilities of academics, such as myself, deciding that, oh, next year I'm going to just teach something completely new. Sometimes it's hard for them to break that. I would love to see that we suddenly trashed the teaching of so much steel and concrete in, say, in my course, civil engineering, and we just had it like a sideshow. Oh yes, by the way, there's this other material, steel and concrete, and the main show would be bio-based materials. But I don't know if that would scare too many people, including the students, of feeling that they're not ready for what the industry right now wants them to do. So we have to do this transition, and this is one of the things that I'm passionate about at the moment, is how do we do this transition quickly to make sure that young generations coming out of university are ready for what the future holds, which is using bio-based materials in large quantities and the other materials in lesser quantities.
Thank you, David. I will also put together some questions that were placed for Pablo and also for you this time about the resistance or maybe the long life of the bamboo products from external uses in buildings and so on, or floors or anything, for external uses.
Okay.
Where is the resistance?
Well, let's again separate the products. So bamboo poles and engineered bamboo products. Bamboo poles work very badly outdoors. Bamboo has very low natural durability. During its growth, it does not accumulate sort of naturally occurring toxins that occur in trees. So it has very low natural durability. If going to be used, it needs to be treated. However, even then, outdoors performance of poles is not particularly good. However, the products that Pablo was showing, some of those engineered bamboo products can be used outdoors. These were the thermally modified products that he was showing, and that is because in the process of the manufacture, the chemistry of the bamboo is modified and then makes them more resilient to fungi and eventually to other forms of bio harm that could occur to the bamboo. But I'm not an expert in engineered bamboo products, and particularly those for outdoor applications. And that it's a shame, but that was a question more for Pablo.
Thank you. And what would you say were the best, were the highest difficulties to enter the market with bamboo products?
Well, this is a very difficult question, and again, I think Pablo would have been the best one to say it, as he works in the business. I'm an academic, but I will say what I think happens from my assessment as an academic. I think there are many barriers to trade. One of them, the ones I have dedicated myself to work with, is standards and education. Those are the ones I can influence, because obviously we need to have standards that allow people to have confidence in the quality of the products that are being sold or built. We also have to have education, and so that even if these standards are there, we need the young future generations, and even practicing architects and engineers to know the material, know how to use it. But I think there are other barriers, which are, of course, economies of scale. While you can, until you have appropriate economies of scale, your product is seemingly expensive. And so I think that is one that has changed significantly, and I think the work that Mozo makes is very, very important in trying to enter the European market with more and more and more products. And I think we are seeing that as a significant factor. I think the last very, very important thing that needs to happen, and someday I've been hoping to see this for 20 years that I've been working with bamboo, but what I hope to see someday happen is that we have some form of carbon tax. So if we have some form of carbon tax, or if not a carbon tax, at least every product came with a stamp that said the embodied carbon of this product is so much, I think we would then see something that would be a game changer, when either consumers avoid certain products with high embodied carbon because the associated negative aspects, or because through, say, a carbon tax, the price goes up so much of products with high embodied carbon that it would probably be a complete game changer for bio-based materials. I don't know why it's been so slow to come. Either the stamps about embodied carbon or carbon taxes. I can imagine why they've taken so long to come, but I think when that happens, it will be a game changer.
Thank you very much. And we'll also pass this, maybe the last question, from Roberto Mirabella. He says that, has a form of cross-laminated bamboo panel system been considered?
I know people have looked into making cross-laminated bamboo panels, and I'm sure had Pablo been here, he would have said yes. And I know that Hector Archila has looked at making cross-laminated bamboo panels. My feeling, though I can say this is only an intuition, I think I would probably put I'm looking at these hybrid products, because I think that what happens when you see something from the engineering point of view, towards the neutral axis. Hi, Hector. When you have something towards what's called the neutral axis, which is the part which is working least in a product in bending, it seems pointless to put something as strong as bamboo there, where it's working not very hard, and instead use a product of lesser quality towards that zone, and let bamboo work hardest where the element is working harder, which is towards the extreme sides. So I personally would bet on a situation where we have hybrid products, where we have, for example, fast-growing trees, which no one looks at, because fast-growing trees produce very low-quality timber, so everyone ignores them, combined with bamboo as a more promising way to make cross-laminated products.
Okay, David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will. Oh, yes, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much, Pablo. I think Dr. Hans wanted to say something very quickly. I let him 2 minutes. I let him speak 2 minutes so he can tell us what are his thoughts.
Thank you, Borja. I just wanted to comment on what David said about the environmental services in Europe. I totally agree with you, David, and I think with the new European deal that Borja mentioned in the introduction, the new biodiversity strategy and the new climate program in Europe, there are real opportunities that bamboo can actually provide several of these ecosystem services you are talking about. Certainly in Southern Europe, one of the big issues is the dying agricultural sector, and that includes erosion problems that basically are now getting very serious. And I think bamboo could certainly therefore be, again, a plant that can help both with agriculture re-establishment, job creation, and at the same time, climate change mitigation, adaptation, and erosion control. So I really think there are some very, very good opportunities for bamboo in Europe. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Hans. Okay, so we move on to the last presentation from Mauricio Cárdenas. Mauricio is the founder of Estudio Cárdenas. He is also the architect of INBAR Bamboo Pavilion. He's the biggest structure of with bamboo in China, and it was inaugurated last year at the Expo 2019 here in Beijing. And he has received many prizes for his use of bamboo in construction, and he's one of the very few architects that uses bamboo in Europe. So we are looking forward to hear his presentation. I give the floor to him.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Borja, and congratulations to Pablo and David for the presentation. Thank you for INBAR Ecuador and INBAR Beijing for organizing this webinar. It's very interesting to see that there's people from all over the world, so it's very exciting to be here with you, with all of you. And well, I will start the presentation. Can you see it full screen? Oh, can you see it full screen? Borja, can you see it? Can you see it full screen?
Yes, we can see it. You have to you have to make it full screen. Touch the glass of wine.
Okay. So one moment. So I will change because that was a PowerPoint. I will go to the PDF because same problem as the last time.
Right.
Okay. Now it's full screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, I'll go fast about this because I think most of us, we know about it, but I think it's important to just remind it, and for some people that don't know, and that are starting to think bamboo, understanding why bamboo. It's a strategic natural resource, and the ONU presented by Borja last year to the United Nations in New York. Bamboo was accepted or was designed by the United Nations as one of a strategic natural resource that is contributing directly to at least 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals. So here we see from number 1, 7, 11, 12, 13, and 15. And why bamboo in Europe? I call it a positive investing, in the sense that you know, in the construction process is one of the biggest culprits where it comes to global greenhouse emissions. So politicians and clients, developers, architects, engineers, construction companies, we all have a very big responsibility towards the future of the planet. It is believed that bamboo can save the planet. It is an amazing natural renewable resource, which depending on the species can be harvested in 1 to 5 years. Hardwoods like oak take at least 40 years to mature before they can be harvested. Bamboo absorbs carbon dioxide and releases 35% more oxygen into the atmosphere than an equivalent stand of hardwood trees. It will grow a new shoot from its extensive root system with no need for additional planting or cultivation. And bamboo is available in all continents. From the construction point of view, is a ready-to-use product of nature. Has a higher compressive strength than wood, brick, or concrete, and a tensile strength that rivals steel. Furthermore, is beautiful. I believe that introducing bamboo into the building chain will create a new market and a value network that will challenge the existing market at this particular time in history, when environmental and social issues have close links with economics. Bamboo offers an innovative response to the problems faced by contemporary design. In fact, the current path taken by environmentally conscious design foresees the development of new technologies and the rediscovery of traditional materials, because it is essential to tackle the subject of sustainability not only through energy savings, but also through the use of natural materials. Utilization of this material, like that of other natural products, involves a number of difficulties, among them cultural ones and those related to current building codes. Furthermore, architecture using bamboo is identified as designed for resorts, spas, fancy restaurants, hotels, and houses in the tropical forest or other natural contexts. This is a very limited use of a great natural product such as round pole bamboo, which can be used in construction without industrial transformation and can offer a realistic solution to the environmental problems of the cities. This is like a summary of my thoughts about bamboo. I've been working with bamboo since I opened my company in 2004, but I know it since I was a child, and also during my studies in Colombia, architectural studies. So here is just the state of the art of bamboo in Europe at the moment. From as far as I know, very possibly I'm missing a lot of information. Bamboo culture in Europe, in France we have La Bambousserie, and in Italy the largest labyrinth in the world made of bamboo plants. In plantations in Europe, we have plantations in Italy, and they're already mature, ready the bamboo is ready to be used, and there's some new plantations growing. I know that in Spain and in Portugal there are some plantations in progress. And about bamboo associations in Europe, there's the European Association of Bamboo, which actually I don't have much information, and I don't know personally. But France is part of this European Association. In Italy, we have the Italian Association of Bamboo, AIB, since the 1990s. So in Italy, bamboo has a strong presence. For more than 15 years, as I mentioned before, together with my team, I've been experimenting during research, prototypes, and developing construction techniques, applying this know-how for practical design solutions, focusing on innovative and sustainable contemporary architecture using round pole bamboo. I got here, this is just to let you know I have an international academic experience. I studied in Colombia, in Japan, in America, and my master's in New York and Florence. And I did my PhD here in Italy, in Milan. And as a professional experience, I've worked in Tokyo, in Paris for Renzo Piano, and for Arup Engineering Company in London and Milan. I was the leader of the facade engineering team. So I have a background, a technical and architectural background. This was just to mention, not that I'm good. I'm just wanted to show this to tell you that I really believe in bamboo. I've worked in major international companies, and I try to push this material forward in these companies, but the time was not ready. But I think the time is now ready, and I started since 2004 with my office. I start doing this dream on my own. And I developed this during my PhD. I developed this method of designing, the conscious design, which is, instead of talking about sustainability, we talk about conscious design, because sustainability can be, the meaning can be used in not inappropriate ways, like just for selling products, bio, green, whatever, you know. So today we're going to concentrate on bamboo constructions. I'm going to start with Italy. Well, starting with Italy, when I was younger, I got under 14 years old architect prize. All of these prizes are through developing bamboo. The one that I really appreciate most was Italian of Innovators in 2011 for the construction system I developed for building in industrialized countries such as Italy and in continents such as Europe. Last year, the Build Architecture Awards in UK was awarded to my office. And I participated to the bamboo culture communication. I've been jury member. I've been lecturer at international congresses, such as the first international congress in Beijing in 2018, organized by INBAR. I teach nowadays less because of the lot of work we have in the office, but I teach I've been teaching in several parts of the world. And of the largest bamboo labyrinth in the world, here near Milan, I am the scientific curator for last year and for this year bamboo events. So check out the news. I'll keep you updated for what we're going to do this year. I've also written about the bamboo. In 2005, I was the first one to publish about bamboo for construction in Italy in this magazine. It started as a small article, but they noticed how interesting and the curiosity made them put me on the cover and gave a lot of pages inside of the magazine. Following that, I published this book. Is still nowadays the only Italian manual to construct with bamboo. Then I was invited by this international book published in 7 languages to write the preface. And in China, there's an article coming pretty soon, which I did with the support of some INBAR colleagues. So construction systems, as David was mentioning before, that's one of the key issues, and it's where I find there's more opportunity to enjoy. So I've been working on that, having the support of a university when I was a teacher full time, and now with my office also having support with different labs to test the bamboo, since bamboo, as David mentioned, is not yet 100%. I mean, there's no local code for building with bamboos. There are in Colombia. There are some recent good news also in Ecuador. But in Italy and Europe, not really. But we can construct, and I will tell you through my experience how can you do that. I will start with the small scale projects, which I did here in Italy. This was the first pavilion I built, and it's dry mounted, no use of concrete. And from here, this is where I got the prize for Italian of Innovators, since this system is that for industrial countries for constructing in Europe. So because differently than from building in other countries where the cost of manpower is lower, in Europe and in Italy, manpower is expensive. So this is dry mounted, easy to make. It's modular, and here you can see my experience in facade engineering, and with the work of Renzo Piano as well, technologically high-tech design applied into low-tech constructions. So I brought at the time, talking 2004, 2005, where I started, I brought the bamboo from Colombia. So as David mentioned, is not the right way to go, but it was my only chance at the time. Nowadays, we can find bamboo here in Italy. And for the projects we're developing here, I will use Italian bamboo. And the universities, and specifically the university from Bologna, they're doing amazing research and tests about local bamboo species, such as Philostachys edulis. And with my students at the time and the young architects working in my office at the time, we built it ourselves. There was a demonstration that we don't need specialized manpower such as we need in Colombia, in Ecuador, or in Bali or Vietnam. All of these amazing projects we see published in magazines, they're made by specialized manpower. The architects have kind of a secondary role, if you want, because part of most of the difficult detailing is decided by the people who know how to manage the bamboo. I don't have this availability here, and we don't have it in Europe. So I developed this system, which is designed. It can be calculated. This is very important. It can also, all of the projects I'll show you, they are all tests, and all of them pass the local codes. And I had to do tests to have them accepted by the local engineering how do you say them, well, laws or whatever of the government. Then I recycled the bamboo. After 4 years, I recycled this bamboo, and I cut it into slats, as you can see on the top left part. And I made this cupola. It's the context is a Renaissance building, so I used precise. The choice of the geodesic is because it's a precise 3D Renaissance geometry. It's like a golden ratio, but in 3D. So it was a chance to study deeper Buckminster Fuller, and I developed this bamboo cupola. You can see from the sketching where I found the solution, and all of this is made for the local industry. So it's high tech, you know. Here, like in Europe, most of Europe, there's prefabrication. The cupola is prefabricated. The elements are modular, and the connections are without perforating and without concrete or glue. Then in 2010, this was more like this research was into a low-tech solution for following several worldwide disasters. I thought that probably in a place where there's a forest available, you can just build your own house, build a kit. The idea is of a bamboo home self-construction kit. At least it's a house that will last you, give you some time for you to then start the real house. And we did the testing of this, cutting the bamboo. We got these beams, and these trusses. These truss beams are amazing because they're natural. They're just cutting the bamboo in a way. And we did the testing in the Politecnico di Milan with Professor Marco Imperadori. We did the testing, and they're amazing. They're not only super resistant, but when they get to the maximum pressure, when you take the weight out of them, they come back to the normal position, even though they're broken. So this is why bamboo bamboo houses, bamboo constructions have resisted earthquakes in the past, because bamboo comes back to the original position. Probably people inside of these houses will fly like crazy because the bamboo is flexible and will move a lot, but the house won't fall down. Instead, concrete will crack and steel will bend. And with that kit, we did this small little housing unit. For this occasion, it was for exhibiting art from a hospital, some mental hospital. Very amazing people did some very interesting art, and we host them in these bamboo dwellings. And we used earth to keep to make the bamboo stable. So it's rammed earth inside the bamboo modules. And in some of them we grew plants, and the plants we chose had some delicious smell, like basilic, etc. So that it also gave a very interesting, natural and nice smell. Somebody from the local government of Milan, they saw this project, and they invited us to make 8 green doors around Milan. It was the same year, and we used. It was a crazy thing because we had to build them very fast, and we had permission for very short time to use the public space, and we built. Basically, there's an enormous and very interesting master plan, green master plan for Milan. It's called the 8 Green Rays. these are 8 green parks that come inside Milan, bringing parks inside of Milan. It's a long-term project. Already started in 2010, and the doors we built, there are the sketches of these elements. The doors, the green doors for Milan, we built was to open this, to start to communicate about this idea to the public. So these are students from various universities from very different parts of Italy. They heard about the news and they came, and friends of friends and people from the office, and we all got our hands on this and built these fun elements all around Milan. So to tell you that even the local government has, of course, governments change, and when they change, sometimes they don't keep the same development as the government before. But here, the government these years were very open into this, into sustainability and green development. Here, I'm now going to Milan. We're still in Europe, here in Milan. And 2015 was the Expo in Milan. And for the Expo, I had the chance to build 2 pavilions: the Colombia Pavilion and the Cocoa Cluster. It's a little neighborhood of pavilions, but unfortunately, due to budget, timing, and local codes, I could not use bamboo as a structural element. So I concentrated my efforts into this exhibition project. It's a Chinese private client, and he was very enthusiastic of making this bamboo exhibition. It was with the design of the exhibition is from RAA from New York, Rolf Appelbaum. They did the design of the exhibition, and I did the design of the bamboo structure. Is the only bamboo structure, bearing structure, approved by Expo. There was for other pavilions, such as Vietnam, they tried to do unfortunately they didn't pass the tests, and the timing was short, so they had to do some metallic structures, then cladded with bamboo. Here, the structure doesn't touch any wall, so it was a real experiment to make a bearing structure and to get approved by Expo. That was like the game we wanted to play. So I was actually invited by the client to go and choose the bamboo myself, because I explained him that to make the project really, really sustainable, bamboo has to be well chosen, because to avoid deforestation. So I went to Anji in China. I chose the bamboo, and also checked that they did a real not 100% chemical protection of the material. Then bring it to Milan, and we did this lab. We started this lab where we did the testing and studied the whole structure. It has to hold screens, and the screens, people walk under the screens, so it has to follow all the codes for structure elements of places used by the public. So that the structure, we did it in 3D. We do the calculations through the 3D model, and then we use the coordinates of the 3D model to do the connections at the right place, and we developed this small connection that we used all over the exhibition. It was quite a success, very nice. You feel like in a forest. It looks like a how do you say, spontaneous geometry, but actually is very well studied, triangulars. This is a medium-sized project, and here I went back to the construction system I developed in 2006 for the pavilion, and for which this system I'm using it in Colombia, in China, and South Africa. The prize, 2011 prize, Italy Innovators, they gave me the copyright, the protection, intellectual protection of the design as a prize. And I'll show you this project, where is a 3-story house. It's an International Bamboo Biennale in China. So after starting to work in Italy, then the China market has been enormous possibilities for me. It's where I have mostly develop the most challenging structures up to date. So here we were invited 10 architects. There's Simon Vélez from Colombia, Soo-Hee Chun from South Korea, Keisuke Maeda from Japan, George Kunihiro from Japan, Ge Changtao from China, and he's also the cultural advisor for the Biennale, Vo Trong Gia from Vietnam, Kengo Kuma from Japan, and Anna Heringer from Germany. Myself from Italy and Colombia. So the house is in this part of the master plan. The master plan was done by Chinese architect Zhang Shu. Very organic, very interesting. And so I developed further the dry mounted system. And here we can see a 3-story house with no concrete. It doesn't even have concrete at the slabs. During the expo in Milan, the Colombia Pavilion and the Cloud Cluster, I actually used wood structures because was not feasible. I had no choice. I would prefer bamboo, of course, especially for the Colombia Pavilion. But I didn't use any concrete in these pavilions. For example, the Colombia Pavilion, I used sand at the slabs. And it was very easy to disassemble the pavilion also. After it's a 2,000 square meter pavilion. It's not a small one. And this house, so you can see it's contemporary architecture. It's in China, but you can imagine this kind of architecture also in Europe. Of course, differently. This is studied especially for Chinese culture, for terms, but it's prefabricated. It's modular. Even the bamboo pieces are the bamboo poles are modular and use local techniques such as rammed earth walls and also use the water for the underground. So it's not only, as I mentioned at the beginning, is not only because in Europe we think that sustainability is just energy saving, and that's just part of it. Natural materials are very, very important, and 15 years ago we started working on that, and now we start seeing the results. And using water for underground, using natural materials, less concrete as possible. Dry mounting is amazing. Also, also thinking the fact that if there's any piece that gets damaged, we can change it. And also, this house has already, some bamboo poles have been changed because had been damaged for some reason, and it's like we're used to our car. We change the parts of our car. We change the parts of our mobile phone or computers. So it's actually a modern futuristic way of seeing the bamboo. Changeable pieces. Why thinking of buildings that should last 300 years, 500 years? I work with Arab facade engineering, and facades don't last 30 years. They have to change parts of the facades. And even companies won't give you more than 15, 20 years warranty. So why we want to push a natural material to last 30 years? It can last 200 years, but you can just change pieces one at a time. Your car can last a lot if you change the pieces, and if you take care of it. I think this is a futuristic way of seeing architecture, and I'm working on that. I'm working on that direction. Have different prices in America and China and Italy for this system. And now the last project, last but not least, is the INBAR Garden Pavilion. It's the largest bamboo structure, round pole bamboo structure in northern China. There's a larger construction somewhere in South China. It's a bridge, but it uses concrete. Here we don't use concrete. INBAR, as you know, organized this webinar. Is the international organization for bamboo and rattan, based in Beijing. And the concept starts from art. I find so poetic of, instead of painting the painting cloth, cut it. This artist, Argentinian artist, just cut it in the 1960s, the cloth, and make so beautiful and poetic. And I thought that why we have to destroy the ground and dig and put concrete and build a building? How about cutting it? So the concept is cutting the ground instead of putting the pavilion on the ground, to have the pavilion in the ground, to be hosted by the ground. And this is, as you can see, all of the pavilions are just on the ground, and our pavilion is part of the ground. Is the ground we took off, we planted back on top. This pavilion has no air conditioning. It's natural, 100% natural ventilation, and that's the architect's task. We designed it, we tested, we tried, we did modeling, 3Ds, and we found a way to use just the flow of natural air. So you can see here the consistency and the coherence from the concept to the construction. We don't make renders just to make people dream. We make the renders to make sure that the project will be as we are designing it, and we make sure that the construction will be as better or as close as possible as the initial design. This doesn't mean to be stubborn, say it has to be like this. No, we made many changes. This is my first sketch, and you see we had a concrete slab. At the end, we didn't have a concrete slab at all. We just had concrete on the support basis of the arches. So here we use natural light. It has natural light the whole day. No need of artificial light or the minimum use of artificial light. No air conditioning. And we started with this little model, which I actually take it to Beijing and from Milan in a box, and we opened the box and explained the project and had the dialogue with INBAR board of trustees and had the project luckily approved, and then we even use it on the construction site, and it's a very useful tool. And the bamboo plants was designed by an Italian Lorenzo Bar. He's the president of the Italian Association of Bamboo, and he's an expert of bamboo species. And so he supported us for the selection of the plants based on the location of the project in Beijing. So he did a research, and together with the young Hong Chang from Beijing, local gardener, we did all the bamboo garden around the bamboo pavilion. Here's some pictures. As you can see on the left top photo picture, there's no concrete on the slab. The slab is just a very thin slab, but it's not concrete, it's just cement. And so this was with the support of the engineers. If the engineers understand and they follow your thoughts, or they probably already think in this way, they think green, you can achieve all of these kind of solutions. This was Chongqing University which supported us. So the INBAR pavilion is a 54-meter wide and 40 meters long construction. It's the largest bamboo arches have a span of 32 meters with a height of 9 meters. The Vierindel truss type of arches make the structure look light. They look very light. And more than 5,000 Philostachys pubescens bamboo natural poles were used for the arches. Each pole is about 8 to 10 centimeters of diameter and 4 to 6 years old age. The main arches were bent by applying heat to the bamboo poles, and a special process transformed the bamboo poles into a golden yellow color and extends its useful lifespan to 30 years, achieving a longer useful lifespan for construction purposes. This is based on the analysis by Chongqing University and by the tests we did in their labs. Here you see the render and the construction on the right, model and construction. Some detail, the glass facade, and it's an openable glass facade for natural ventilation purposes. It was called, I call it the INBAR Garden Pavilion, but it got a more beautiful name by the people who visited. It was called the Bamboo Eye, due to the reflection, Bamboo Eye. And we use local handcraftmanship for the sunscreen and for the ceiling. This is bamboo as well, and it's amazing because it's a handcraftsmanship that we find in Colombia, in Ecuador, in most of Asian countries, even in Italy, we use this kind of weaving. Here, the green roof, some use of the interior. The opening was an amazing day, very special for all of us. And many countries came here, all of the hosted by INBAR. And I have to go quickly out of this presentation to launch this video. Let's see, how do I do this? Okay.
Mauricio, igual tienes problemas.
Please let me know if you can see the video.
No, we cannot.
Can you see it?
No. Maybe you have problems with the video because it's you have maybe with the audio also. To share the audio is not that easy.
Okay, let me try again. Just 1 second.
Mauricio, remember you need to choose which window you are sharing from your computer, and then maybe you could see the video.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
You need to touch the arrow of sharing the screen, and then an option will appear you with different screens, and you have to show the screen that you want to share with us.
Okay. So 1 moment, I should, yeah.
Well, while you fix that, I want to invite everyone in the all the participants to sign in the INBAR newsletter. You can access through our INBAR website, and please sign in our INBAR newsletter. And also there is a feedback of the webinar that you can fill. It will be very helpful for us to know your feedback about the webinar. So please, we will be very pleased if you can fill the form. Thank you very much.
Now it's visible?
Yes, now it's visible.
Okay. Don't matter the sound because it's just music, okay? There's some text on the bottom.
Okay.
Let me know if it's working. It works?
Yes.
Okay.
But no sound.
Yeah, no sound. It has music, but let's use it with no sound. I don't know why.
Mauricio, you can sing.
Yes, I can sing. Can you help me? There is a text on the bottom, also in Chinese, if you want, David.
David can read it for us.
To demonstrate innovative bamboo and rattan applications, to promote the use of bamboo rattan, and to push forward the studies and definition of the codes. Too fast. Oof. Okay, let's just look at and for well, the images talk by themselves.
Okay. Mauricio, I think we have to go to the questions. If you want to give your final comments, and then we will go to the questions because.
Sure. Okay. Here we are. You can hear me? You can see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we go directly to the questions.
Okay. Congratulations, Mauricio. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have this question from Jennifer Snyders. She says, what type of bamboo was used in Milan and what chemical process was applied for preservation of bamboo?
So the first pavilion in 2006, I brought Guadua angustifolia from Colombia. The process they use for protection is with borax, immerging underwater with borax. That's basically the type of protection that was used at the time.
Thanks. And what is your experience with durability of treated bamboo? How long can it last? Maybe you can tell us an interior use and external use, please.
Okay. About structural bamboo, from my experience, I started 15 years ago, so I have experience of structures that are still built from 12 years ago, and they're doing quite well. The house, the 3-story house, was built in 2016, so it's 4 years and is working quite well. Even though the bamboo is completely exposed to the sun and the wind, it was not supposed to be like that. Had like an exterior kind of protection, but at the end we didn't do it. The client loved it like that and wanted to keep like that, and accepted the risk that bamboo has to be changed once in a while. And so, as I mentioned, the durability depends also on the design a lot. Usually, like the best practice is to protect bamboo from the sun and the rain. Detach it from the ground. It's like designing with wood, basically. And that depends on how much the building will last. Take into account the orientation. The facade in Europe, looking south, would be the one would have more sun impact, etc. So. It's a matter of design, so design is quite important, yeah.
Right. Another question is, if you consider bamboo a vernacular building material, is there a way for us to standardize this material internationally? Well,
depends. Like the work we're doing with the INBAR task force, which is led by David Trujillo, is that one of the codes, and of course of finding some standards. But I find contradictory. That's from the code's point of view, but from the material itself, or you either use engineered bamboo, which is the bamboo that Pablo Van der Lugt he presented to us at the beginning, or you use round pole bamboo, which is natural. I think from my point of view, if you use it natural, you should accept you cannot standardize because it's natural. And if you want to use it, you want it to be identical one piece from the other or standard, you can use engineered bamboo. There's two possibilities, yeah.
Thank you. Alicia is asking if you use engineered bamboo as well in your projects, and if not, why not do you use it?
A structural element? No, I haven't used it yet, because I'm waiting for engineering bamboo to develop further. It's heavy and it has a lot of glue, and the glue is not always respectful with the environment. So Pablo was mentioning before, they have some products that are getting better, and probably I should get more updated on that. And if bamboo, because bamboo, you can cut it into just very, very small pieces because it's empty inside. So you need more glue than wood. So actually I will take the risk and say that laminated bamboo has less glue than bamboo, and probably I will prefer to use laminated wood instead of laminated bamboo at this moment. But if the glue of bamboo becomes natural and not chemical, and why not using laminated bamboo? Yeah.
Thank you. And just one last question from Florencia in Argentina. Do you know Veggiate Pavilion? is it still standing?
I didn't know you understand Italian. Very good. Yes. Yes, Pablo. It was a long time ago. Actually, it was done by an association called, I don't know if they still exist, Emissioni Zero. And they received some sketches from Simon Vélez. He was supposed to come to Italy to build it, but Simon didn't came for some reason. And they asked me to help them, and I did the detailing of that pavilion. I did all the drawings for the detailing, and it was done in a park. So I think, I don't know if it's still there. It was done in a park, and it was kind of not 100% following the local codes. So I don't know what happened. Yeah. It used created the connections.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Mauricio. Thanks for your presentation.
Professor Luisa Mulari from Bologna University tells me that yes, the Bargiate Pavilion is still there.
Okay. Thanks for showing us your work. I've been to some of your of the construction work, like the INBAR Pavilion. It's a great place that everybody should be able to see with their own eyes. And just one point I wanted to mention. Mauricio mentioned the Italian Bamboo Association. There are also bamboo associations in the Netherlands, also in the UK, and also in Germany. There is a German Bamboo Association, and recently established in bamboo in Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Bamboo Association. It has been established last week. So if anyone wants to learn more about it, Mauricio, I can't hear you.
That's great to hear that. That's great.
Yeah.
Great. I knew about the Spain and Portugal, but I didn't want. Since I was not sure it was already reality. I didn't.
Yeah, it's been recently established. Yes. So since we don't have any more questions, I just want to thank the panelists. I want to thank David Trujillo, Mauricio, and Pablo Van der Lugt for accepting the invitation to speak in the webinar and share with us your thoughts about the role of bamboo in Europe, and also share your work with us. And I want to also thank all the participants who have joined this webinar, and I'd like to invite them one more time to sign in the INBAR newsletter through the INBAR website. And also please fill in the form that is being shared in this chat to have some feedback on the webinar, and also to know your thoughts about what kind of topics would you like to us to treat in the future, in future webinars, so we can better know the future topics of webinars. With that, I don't know if Pablo, Pacom, or anyone else has any further comments. I would like to say thank you to all of you, and invite you to the next webinar, which will be in Spanish. It will be, I think, next week from the INBAR LAC office. And perhaps Pablo can say a bit more about it.
Thank you very much, Borja. Thank you very much to Mauricio, David, and Pablo. And it was really a great webinar. And also thanks to all the participants from all over the world who stay with us for almost 2 hours. Also next week we will keep doing the INBAR LAC webinars. We will talk about some issues relating with energy. The use of bamboo for energy, and also we will start soon in the middle of June an international webinars from HQ with different times of hours. So also all of you are in that. You will get more information about that in the coming weeks. So thank you very much, Borja, also, and from the regional office. in Latin America. Thank you for all your support, and thank you very much to all the speakers and participants. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much also to Pablo and to all the support of the LAC office. They were pioneers of these webinars and they've been doing a great work. And I see Dr. Hans. I want to say goodbye to Dr. Hans and to Moni, which are both in the screen. And to all our participants, thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
El bambú y el ratán, el orgullo de la naturaleza, el amigo de la humanidad. La Organización Internacional del Bambú y Ratán fue establecida en 1997. INBAR fue la primera organización internacional en asentarse en China y la primera en trazarse como objetivo la promoción del bambú y el ratán para el desarrollo sostenible. Desde su establecimiento, la misión de INBAR ha sido mejorar el bienestar de los productores y consumidores de bambú y ratán dentro del contexto de una fuente de recursos sostenibles de bambú y ratán y consolidando, coordinando y apoyando investigaciones y desarrollos estratégicos y adaptativos. En sus 2 décadas de existencia, INBAR ha crecido continuamente y en marzo de 2019 el número de Estados miembros llegó a 45. Nuestros Estados miembros provienen de África, Asia, Oceanía y América. INBAR tiene oficinas regionales en el Camerún, Ecuador, Etiopía, Ghana e India. INBAR se desempeña a través de diferentes esferas, tal y como son la reducción de la pobreza, el desarrollo de medios de vida y la protección ecológica. Todas ellas promueven el desarrollo verde de las industrias de bambú y de ratán. INBAR apoya la innovación científica y tecnológica, la cultivación y la expansión de los recursos disponibles y la demostración de la contribución positiva que han hecho el bambú y ratán al desarrollo de la economía verde y a la mejora de los medios de subsistencia. Los productos y patrimonios culturales pueden mejorar la calidad de vida y proteger y ampliar la cultura de bambú y ratán. INBAR actúa en calidad de observador ante la Asamblea General de la Organización de Naciones Unidas y ha logrado grandes éxitos durante las celebraciones de su 20 aniversario, al igual que en el primer Congreso Mundial del Bambú y Ratán en 2018. Jefes de gobierno o de Estado de China, Etiopía, Ecuador, Colombia, Camerún y Madagascar, así como los ejecutivos de alto nivel de la Organización de Naciones Unidas, han expresado su interés en estos acontecimientos o bien nos felicitaron por nuestra creciente influencia internacional. Mirando al futuro, INBAR ha formulado un plan de desarrollo para los años 2015-2030. En colaboración con los Estados miembros y socios internacionales, trabajamos con vistas a alcanzar los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y armonizar los planes para una franja y una ruta y la cooperación sur-sur. INBAR forjará un camino único para lograr progresos palpables y trabajará mancomunadamente hacia un mundo más ecológico y más equitativo.